What's going on, everyone? Welcome into this episode of the Chief Zone Podcast. I am Farzin Vasugian. Happy Wednesday to all of you. It is the first full week of no football. We are fully in the offseason now, but hey, that's okay. Still a lot of things to get into here with the Kansas City Chiefs, as well as some NFL news out there to go over. Listen, Seahawks had their parade, and they're enjoying that, and I guess you could say their offseason technically begins shortly after this. I guess it's mock draft season now because there are a lot of mock drafts out there and a lot of people reacting to mock drafts. The Chiefs are obviously picking at number 9, but I think the amount of people surprised that some of the projections out there that's something worth going over on this podcast. So we're going to spend some time, the majority of this podcast, discussing that, and we'll get into some of your guys' comments and questions as we go on throughout the night. This podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. That's where I go to for all my sports ticketing needs. Football season is over, but hey, we still have the NBA, college basketball. We've got hockey. We've got baseball coming up real soon. You guys want to catch any of the action, all you've got to do is go check out my friends over at SeatGeek. And if you're a new SeatGeek customer, use my promo code Farzin. You'll save $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com, pick your tickets. New customers, don't forget at checkout, enter my promo code Farzin. You'll save $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. All right. Farzin, do you have an update on the live show? I do. You guys keep asking this. Yeah, there's an update. There is an update. We are getting closer and closer to finalizing everything. We've got our agreement in, and I don't know. Does this show? This right here in my hand is the poster for that live show. That's how. See, I got to make sure I don't reveal anything here. That's how. Listen, I wish I could show you this poster. It is bold. It is big. It's beautiful. It looks nice. I know it looks nice because I made it. Yeah, we're rolling, man. It's not up to me as to when this gets announced, but I'd like to get out there the sooner the better. Live from Toronto, one of these days. What part of the city will it be? It'll be in Kansas City, Missouri. That's all I can tell you right now. I've said before, if you guys really want to plan for this, the final weekend of March. That's all I'm at liberty to say right now. Because listen, I know some of you guys have said you're willing to travel for this. So take that for what you will. But it'll be in Kansas City, Missouri. So listen, that won't be our only show. We'd like to do another one. We don't know what the future holds with this. This is going to be our first one. Listen, I keep telling you guys, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'm excited for you guys to find out where it's going to be and who we're partnering with on this one. Because for this to be our first ever live show with a live audience and having special guests on stage, I actually dropped a little hint in one of the comments. I'm not going to go any more into detail than that, but we'll see. Will I stream it for people that cannot come? No, I won't. And here's why. I feel like this will be a ticketed event. So you'll have to purchase a ticket to attend this. As much as I'd like to live stream it, I'm sure there will be video clips. I'm going to speak with my team on that. We'll definitely have, clips and whatnot to put out there. But obviously we can't give you everything because we want you to be there. So I understand some of you guys aren't able to make it, schedule, whatever. I fully understand. That's why I'm hoping we do multiple Chiefs Zone lives. So we'll have to figure out 1587 Prime. I've been to 1587 Prime. It's a nice place. That's not an ideal spot for a live show. PNL would be, boy, if we could do PNL. Obviously, this is not at PNL. I'm telling you now. Might not be too far from it, though. Bob needs to be a guest speaker. We might have an open mic for you guys to do a Q&A. I mean, who says you can't be a special guest speaker? Can we purchase tickets for a live stream for this upcoming one? Again, I don't plan to live stream these. It's actually an interesting question. The place where we're going to be, the Wi-Fi is not the best. Anyway, I'm saying more than I can really probably say right now before I get in trouble. So I'm going to stop with that, and we're going to get into some Chiefs talk here because I know that's what you guys are here for. Let's get right into it, because when you're looking, I asked you guys over on Monday's podcast, what are some of the biggest needs on this Chiefs football team right now? A lot of you guys said offensive line. I think as long as you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, offensive line is always going to be a big need for Kansas City, 100%. Another need you guys mentioned was running back. Obviously, Jeremiyah Love is out there. We know our good friend Tim Grunhart, Chiefs Hall of Famer. He has been beating the drum for the Chiefs to draft Jeremiyah Love. We've had a couple of mock drafts. Actually, we've had several mock drafts that have been out there from the media, a lot of bloggers, content creators doing mock drafts, and a lot of people reacting to these mock drafts. There was a very interesting mock draft that came from Field Yates of ESPN Wednesday morning. He has the Chiefs drafting Jeremiyah Love with the 9th pick. Now, this is where things get interesting. A lot of people have either Jeremiyah Love or Rueben Bain Jr. going to Kansas City with the number 9 pick. Field Yates has both Jeremiyah Love and Rueben Bain Jr. available at 9. So for context, at number 7, he has Cardinal Tate, the wide receiver from Ohio State, going to the Washington Commanders, and then Jordan Tyson from ASU going to the Saints. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and the Saints getting a wide receiver, not the most shocking thing in the world, but man, I just feel like that team is going to try to prepare for life after Alvin Kamara, and they probably strongly look at Jeremiyah Love. Maybe they do look for a running back later in the draft, and they decide, hey, if we need to stick it out with Kamara one more year, maybe. But I was really shocked to see Field Yates have both Jeremiyah Love and Rueben Bain Jr. available. Now, and he always provides a little bit of analysis with his predictions here for each draft pick. He does say he acknowledges that he's not 100% sure if Love is going to fall to number 9 by the time we have the NFL draft in late April. So it's kind of one of those non-committal projections here. Let's do this exercise for a moment here. Let's build a case. Let's say Jeremiyah Love and Rueben Bain Jr. are both available at 9. I'd be personally shocked if they were available at 9, but let's say hypothetically they're both available at 9 for Kansas City. Who do you draft if you're Brett Veach, Andy Reid? Who do you take? Do you take Jeremiyah Love or do you take Rueben Bain Jr.? Let's build the case for Jeremiyah Love first. A lot of people are saying this guy's going to be a generational talent at running back. Many are actually saying that he might be the most talented player from this draft class. That's pretty hard. That alone is difficult to say no to. So unless, Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, if those two running backs, if they were like Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, it'd be so easy to say no to Jeremiyah Love and that you would need to address other matters on your team. But that's not the case. Kareem Hunt is good for those short yardage situations. Isaiah Pacheco, he's got the speed, but we haven't seen him utilize that in the last couple of years. Now, let's add to the case for Jeremiyah Love. He's a generational talent. What else? Well, Kansas City struggled immensely at the running back position. So this would be another reason to get a guy like Jeremiyah Love. Here's the third reason. And I think these next 2 reasons I'm about to give you are very important. Patrick Mahomes is coming off an ACL injury in mid to late December. I think he had his surgery on the 15th, so mid-December. Let's assume Patrick Mahomes is ready to start in week 1 of next season. And we don't know who that's going to be against just yet. But given that he's coming back from an ACL tear late from the previous season, man, it's pertinent to give him every opportunity possible to give him all the help that he can get. He needs that right now. That's why bringing back Travis Kelce is more important than ever. That's why re-signing Tyquan Thornton is very pertinent for this football team right now. And maybe adding Jeremiah Love could be that final piece of the puzzle. And maybe the Chiefs could have that complete offense because, for a couple of years, it's been the offensive tackle. Well, it seems like maybe they have that solved with Josh Simmons if he's fully available. And they think they have something in Jalen Moore at right tackle. We'll see. But then you have an issue at the running back position. That's not as good as it should be. Now, here's the last pitch I'm going to make for the Chiefs to get Jeremiah Love before we switch over to Rueben Bain Jr. and build a case for him. Who's your offensive coordinator right now? It's Eric Bieniemy. And look, I know some of you guys are not excited for Eric Bieniemy. I've given you my list of reasons as to why I'm thrilled that he's back. I can't convince you, I can't change your guys' mind at this point. Here's what I'm going to say, though. Running backs have thrived under Eric Bieniemy, have they not? Jamal Charles was already a great running back before Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy arrived in Kansas City. But with Bieniemy as his running backs coach and Andy Reid as his head coach, Doug Peterson as the offensive coordinator, Jamal Charles went off in 2013, led the league in touchdowns scored that year, and had a solid 2014 season as well. Unfortunately, 2015 and 2016 dealt with knee injuries, and that really spelled the end of his time in Kansas City. So who was after Jamal Charles? Well, when he got hurt, Spencer Ware and Charkandrick West, those two formed a pretty strong duo, and they were helping carry this offense. I shouldn't say carrying this offense, but they helped this offense in 2015 overcome a 1-5 start. Because if you remember, Jamal Charles got hurt during that time. What other running backs? Oh, that's right. Kareem Hunt led the league in rushing yards as a rookie in 2017. And when he got kicked off the team, Damian Williams filled in. Damian Williams has the second most touchdowns scored in Chiefs history. I mean, that guy balled out in the AFC Championship game against New England, scoring 3 touchdowns in that game. Isaiah Pacheco. Look, I know a lot of people want to move on from Isaiah Pacheco, but in his first 2 years, rather, one of them under Eric Bieniemy, mind you, Pacheco was great. And considering the fact that this guy almost went undrafted, he was a really important part of Kansas City's offense in 2022 and 2023. Jerick McKinnon in 2022 won AFC Offensive Player of the Month. When Jerick McKinnon came back in 2023, it wasn't the same guy. And mind you, there were a lot of different coaches on the offensive side of the football that year. So I don't think that's a coincidence. So I think those right there are the reasons why you take Jeremiah Love. I know a lot of people are saying the Chiefs never draft a running back this high, and Andy Reid's never been part of a football team where they take a running back this early. Sure. And I know the other case against Jeremiah Love is look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire and how that went. Guys, just because one guy at the same position failed doesn't mean you have to be shy with that position forever and ever. I mean, if there is a really good football player at that position available by the time you're on the clock, I mean, you've got to pull the trigger and take him. And I think that's what you've got to do with Jeremiah Love if he's there. Here, listen, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. This is not very ideal, but I am going to put this out there. Eric Bieniemy is familiar with both Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. Would the Chiefs kick the can down the road with the running back position for one more year? Again, I know that's not a thrilling idea at all. I'm not saying that that's going to entice any Chiefs fan. All I'm saying is Eric Bieniemy is familiar with Pacheco and Hunt. And here's the most important thing to keep in mind, and perhaps this is also a case as to why you might draft Jeremiyah Love instead of Rueben Bain Jr. The running backs that are going to be sought after in free agency, they're going to cost a lot of money. Running backs, yeah, I know the position has changed over the years, but they're not willing to play for a charitable price. I mean, they are going to want to get paid. And if you want a cheap running back, Jeremiyah Love could be that option. Or you could re-sign two veterans in Pacheco and Hunt. And yes, they're both set to become free agents. But given their familiarity with Eric Bieniemy, that might be a reason as to why the Chiefs kick the can down the road one more year, and maybe they go after a different running back in next year's draft. Maybe later in this draft, they find a different running back that they really like. Who knows? But I would bet that within the first 3 rounds, the Chiefs draft a running back. Do you guys agree with me? True or false? Just answer true or false. The Chiefs will draft a running back within the first 3 rounds. Do you guys think they do that? I think they will. If it's not with the number 9 pick, it's got to come somewhere else. And look, I know Trent McDuffie has been the league-wide candidate to become someone that's going to be on the trade block. I know Matt Miller of ESPN mentioned Chris Jones could also get traded. Some people have been speculating on that. I don't think the Chiefs are going to trade Chris Jones, and I don't think any team is interested in taking that contract. I would be shocked if Chris Jones got traded this offseason. I'd be shocked. A lot of you guys think that the Chiefs will draft a running back in the first 3 rounds. See, I thought that last year as well. And I thought they got a really good running back in Brashard Smith. I put together a list of the top 5 wide receivers and the top 5 running backs that had the fastest 40 time at the scouting combine. Brashard Smith was 3rd on that list, and they ended up landing Brashard Smith in Kansas City. Now, what's the future hold for a guy like Brashard Smith? I think that's something to keep in mind as well, because that is a guy, 7th round draft pick, but so was Isaiah Pacheco, and he had a couple of really good seasons in Kansas City. Could the Chiefs find a way to do the same thing with Brashard Smith? Does Eric Bieniemy feel comfortable with Brashard Smith being his running back, his feature running back, kind of like what they did with Pacheco in 2022? I'd be very interested in seeing that. All right, let's go over to Rueben Bain Jr. What is the case for the Chiefs to draft Rueben Bain Jr.? Well, for one, your 4-man front just does not do a good job going after quarterbacks. They just don't. Karlaftis, yes, he gets a lot of pressures, but he has struggled just getting the quarterbacks down. Chris Jones just hasn't necessarily been as dominant as he's been in years past. Omar Norman-Lott, I think that was a big get for Kansas City last year in the 2nd round. The problem is Omar Norman-Lott dealt with injuries late in the preseason and also suffered a torn ACL injury and ended up just missing a lot of time for the Chiefs. That torn ACL injury happened in the Raiders game, not the second Raiders game, the first Raiders game when the Chiefs shut him out 31-0. So what's Omar Norman-Lott's progress like right now, and how beneficial can he be to Kansas City's defensive line? Because the Chiefs, whenever Omar Norman-Lott played this year, he looked really good. I mean, he was going after the quarterback. Chris Jones did not deal with as many double teams. And I think that was noticeable when, you lose Turk Wharton, who is a seriously underrated defensive tackle, a number 2 defensive tackle. When he played alongside Chris Jones, I mean, there were a lot of one-on-one plays where Jones and Wharton were able to win those battles. And that led to the Chiefs going for so long, almost 2 seasons, almost 2 full years of not allowing a running back to rush for more than 100 yards. So I think those things are important to keep in mind. And I think if you can add Rueben Bain Jr. to that defensive line, that's going to help a lot. Here's another big reason as to why adding Rueben Bain Jr. would be more beneficial than Jeremiyah Love. Let's look at Super Bowl 55. We know the story with that one. The Chiefs had a banged up offensive line, and that Bucks pass rush, they won that battle with ease. Now, that's not as fair as a comparison because the Chiefs had backup offensive linemen. So let's go to Super Bowl 59, to where the Chiefs, yeah, they had a backup left guard as they shifted their original left guard, their all-pro left guard, Joe Thuney, who is the inaugural Protector of the Year award winner. He shifted over to left tackle, and he just did that recently for the Bears. And a lot of teams in the playoffs, guys like Danielle Hunter, Josh Sweat, I mean, they took advantage of Joe Thuney's inexperience as a left tackle, and they got to Mahomes plenty in Super Bowl 59. Look at the most recent Super Bowl. Now, we've already talked about this, but it is worth noting because this has come up in recent days that Will Campbell, the rookie left tackle for the Patriots, I guess was dealing with some sort of an injury coming into the Super Bowl. So take that for what it's worth to you. But nonetheless, his struggles was a big reason why we saw the outcome that we saw in Super Bowl 60 between the Seahawks and the Patriots. So let's say you have Rueben Bain Jr. and George Karlaftis and Chris Jones. Ashton Gelati's part of your rotation. I'd like to see Mike Pennell come back. I think he's an underrated player and good for your defensive line rotation, specifically at the defensive tackle position. Let's say the Chiefs do get into the postseason. They get back to the postseason and they can make a deep run. And look, this does require you to be a little bit lucky here, but let's say they're facing an offensive line that is banged up. You can't ever, I've said this many, many times. It doesn't matter what an opposing team is dealing with in January. Yes, they're a great team, and that's why they're playing in January. But if they're dealing with absences, injuries, what have you, you can never apologize for it. The Buccaneers never apologized for beating up on Mahomes because he had a JV offensive line for that game. No team will ever apologize for beating a team. I remember, and I pointed this out, and a lot of Bengals fans were telling me, oh, that's not going to happen because the backup offensive line did well the previous week against Buffalo. In the AFC Championship rematch between the Chiefs and the Bengals, one of the reasons why I picked the Chiefs to win that rematch was because the Bengals had 3 backup offensive linemen in that game. And guess what happened? The Chiefs sacked Joe Burrow 4 times in that game. So if you happen to be in a matchup where the opposing team just happens to have an injury bug flying around at the offensive line position, that is a big advantage. And you can't ever apologize for that. Plus, another reason why I think Rueben Bain Jr. might be more beneficial than Jeremiah Love, I'm a little worried about Kansas City's defense next season. When you look at the Chiefs, they have a lot of guys in the secondary who are set to become free agents. Josh Williams, Jalen Watson, Nazeeh Johnson, safety Brian Cook. I mentioned earlier, Trent McDuffie could be shopped this offseason. I mean, there are going to be a lot of guys, especially from that 2022 draft class. You got a lot of guys who are set to become free agents. So this could put the Chiefs in a really interesting position to where they might need to seriously consider Rueben Bain Jr. over Jeremiah Love. Listen, I'll tell you right now, if the Chiefs have if they say at the number 9 pick, and if both Jeremiah Love and Rueben Bain Jr. some way, somehow, which I don't think will happen, but if that somehow does happen to where they're both available at 9, my preferred option is Rueben Bain Jr. That's how I feel about that. Now, if the Chiefs go with Jeremiah Love, I wouldn't be upset about it. But I would like to think that if they go running back and not edge rusher with their number 9 pick, that later within the first 3 rounds, whether they get another first-round draft pick for Trent McDuffie, maybe Chris Jones, who knows? I guess that's kind of a rumor now that's out there. I would like to think they get an edge rusher within the first 3 rounds. You have to. Kansas City's got a lot to figure out. And I think when you're at the scouting combine, if you're the Chiefs, you're going to do your due diligence on those 2 guys, as well as several other players. But those are 2 guys you're going to focus in on quite a lot. And then you're going to, obviously, free agency is another thing. So if the Chiefs can address the edge rusher position, well, then maybe they don't go the Rueben Bain Jr. path with the number 9 pick if he's available. They can get a running back in free agency. Then that allows them to stay away from drafting Jeremiah Love in the draft. So there are a lot of options to consider right now if you're Kansas City, and plenty of time to figure that out. You got 2.5 months to get your answers to all of those things. But it is very pertinent for the Chiefs to get it right. Their last couple of drafts have not been very good. I mean, you look at the 2023 draft. I mean, who's your first round draft pick in that one? FAU. That has not panned out at all very well. Then your second round pick, Rashee Rice, looked good for a little bit, but the off the field incidents, the injuries, this year, arguably his worst year as far as performance on the field, not really good. Wanya Morris has not been a good offensive tackle for the Chiefs. And considering he got hurt on the first snap of that Houston game, that certainly did not help. Shamari Connor has been struggling as a defensive back. You look at last year's draft class, Xavier Worthy certainly has potential, but I wouldn't say he made a lot of progress this year, but he also played through a torn labrum. So we'll see if getting surgery on that, how much of that will change things. Kingsley Suamataia failed as a left tackle, was a better left guard, but I'll say this: I think there's still room to improve for Kingsley at left guard. So do the Chiefs stick with Kingsley? Do they draft somebody else? That's something to be aware of. Jared Wiley has kind of been non-existent. I know he had that 4th down reception this season, but that's really it. Jaden Hicks, I think, is a really underrated defensive back. I think he can be a good safety in the NFL. But the Chiefs, I mean, they were playing around with everyone's playing time last year, especially on the defensive side of the football, and it made no sense. Hunter Norzad, I like him. I think he is a good backup interior offensive lineman. I think he's someone that the Chiefs should actually consider at left guard to compete against Kingsley Suamataia. He looked great at left guard against the Raiders. Now, I agree. That was a game where you had a lot of backups playing, but the year before when the Chiefs rested all their starters against Denver, Hunter Norzad played in that game when Denver was trying to win that game with their elite defense, and Norzad looked great as a pass blocker. I didn't like his snaps as a center when he came in to replace Creed Humphrey for the rest of that game, but I thought he did really well as a blocker, and you saw that in when he played left guard for that Week 18 game this year. CJ Hansen, Kamal Haddon. I don't think Haddon's on the team anymore. I think he's turned into a journeyman. Hansen, I think, has kind of gone back and forth with the practice squad. This year's draft, Josh Simmons, great if he's available. Unfortunately, missed a lot of time due to personal matters and injuries. Omar Norman Lott, same thing with him. Great if he's available, but the injuries, multiple injuries played a factor this year. Ashton Gelati, thought he did fairly well. And remember, the Chiefs, they drafted Omar Norman Lott, and 3 picks later, they stuck with the defensive line. Noel Williams, I thought, was pretty damn good last year, and he got more playing time in the last few games, and I thought he looked good, especially against Bo Nix in that Christmas game. Him and Christian Fulton actually looked pretty damn good in that game. And mind you, that's a Broncos team that put up, 33 on Buffalo? And I know Bo Nix didn't have a lot of great games this year, but that was encouraging to see against a team that was chasing the number 1 seed. Jalen Royals. I couldn't tell you a damn thing about Jalen Royals because he only had, Pro Football Reference says he had 2 catches for 4 yards. I could not even recall the other catch. I'm sure it was in Week 18 because that was the first time all year Royals got targeted. I know he started the season on PUP with the knee tendonitis, but I don't know, man. Jeffrey Bossa, I like him. I'd like to see more of him on defense. And then Brashard Smith. We've already gone over Brashard Smith, so I'm not going to go into detail with that. But Brashard Smith showed some promise in the last 3 games when he got a lot more playing time. So again, we'll see if that's someone the Chiefs consider for someone who could be their feature back or someone that's going to be more active and available for them. Kind of like a Jerick McKinnon type of a running back. I just feel like at the end of the day, it's really important that Brett Veach gets this draft right. Yes, they only have 6 picks for now. I think you're going to get a couple of compensatory picks for Justin Reed and Turk Wharton, and with Trent McDuffie and or Chris Jones. I don't think Chris Jones is getting traded, but I know that's out there. I mean, it's to the point where it's been on ESPN as speculation. I just don't know what you're going to get because teams are already going to make the ultimate sacrifice of paying him a shit ton of money. So I just don't know if you're going to get much for Chris Jones anyway. Whereas for Trent McDuffie, who is much, much younger and very talented as a cornerback, especially as a slot cornerback, that's a guy who you could get some draft compensation or draft capital from. Yeah. Okay. So just to ask you guys, you got Jeremiah Love and you got Rueben Bain Jr. They're both available. Who do you guys want the Chiefs to take? If the Chiefs are on the clock and both of those guys are available, who do you want? Love or Bain? A lot of you guys agree that if the Chiefs don't take a running back with the 9th pick, they'll get one within the first 3 rounds. But I'm curious to know from you guys, if they're both some way, somehow available, and obviously if you can't tell, I don't think they will both be available. I think one of them will. And if I had to bet which one, I would bet Rueben Bain Jr. Which one would you guys want? It felt like during the season, a lot of people said Jeremiah Love. Now that we're in the offseason and we're watching other teams, you still have some people on the Love train, but I think the Bain train has also gotten a lot of traction. It's close. It is really close. It's 50-50. I think Bain has the slight edge here. But okay, we're starting to get more and more Bain comments. Now, that's not to dismiss the Love comments, because there are a lot of people who would love. I do agree, Tim. Yeah, defense wins championships. We saw that in 2023. And what Mahomes did not have in 2023, well, he had a couple of things. There were a couple of things he didn't have. One was help out the offensive tackle position. That was a disaster. And the receivers certainly weren't doing him a lot of favors. They stepped up in the playoffs. I'll say that, but not the ideal way of going about it. I think Mahomes has a much better offensive line right now. I remember watching that first game in Brazil, and I'm complaining during the game because Mahomes is in the pocket for a long time and he can't find an open receiver. And in the midst of my complaining, I'm like, wait a minute, he has time in the pocket. Holy shit, this is beautiful. We forgot what this was like for a long time. So, and listen, I know the offensive line, there were injuries and struggles in the middle of the season and all. After that, what was it, the 5-3 start that the Chiefs had? So I get it. Or did the Chiefs ever go above 500? I can't recall. What was Kansas City's record? For whatever reason, I'm sure. I think they were 5-3 at one point. Were they not? Yeah, they were 5-3. Okay, I just wasn't sure if I was remembering that right or not. Yeah, because after the 0-2 start, they won 5 of 6 games. Their only loss was against Jacksonville, and then they went on to lose. What was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of their last 9 games, which was just a disaster. But my thing is, watching that very first game, I'm like, wait a minute, the pass blocking is here. And listen, Josh Simmons had his issues in that first game, rookie learning curve. Juwan Taylor, I mean, the guy cannot go. He had that nice little October where he was penalty free, it felt like. I mean, he had like a really good stretch for a couple of games. And I'm thinking, okay, Juwan Taylor's looking actually good. But unfortunately, reality came back down to earth, and Juwan Taylor went back to being Juwan Taylor. 55 penalties in 3 years. And mind you, he didn't finish the season. I can't remember when exactly, but they put him on IR at some point late in the second half. And the 55 penalties could have easily been 60. I mean, it got to the point where Travis Kelce got in his face, basically saying what we've all been saying. Like, dude, get your shit together. You can't keep doing this. You just can't. But I felt like during those first 8 games, when the Chiefs were 5-3, Kansas City's pass protection was good. It wasn't great. It still had room to improve and all, but it was a hell of a lot better than last year. That we can all agree on. Because I remember asking you guys after the first couple of weeks, even when the Chiefs started 0-2, I remember asking you guys, and we all agreed, like, the pass protection is already better than last year. So that was the encouraging part. It's just, if availability, like, if everyone can be available, I know that's easier said than done. That's going to help out a lot. That will translate to great things. And if you have Rueben Bain Jr. on the defensive side, and if the four-man rush, that production is there, I think everything else will fall into place. If you have a great offensive line and a great defensive line, I think all of the other pieces will fall into place. I truly believe that. Listen, a lot of coaches will tell you that games are won and lost at the line of scrimmage. That is 100% true. 100% true. You don't have your pass protection helping your quarterback, then how do you expect to win? You saw it with Drake May. You saw it twice with Patrick Mahomes in Super Bowls, mind you. And on the defensive side, in those same Super Bowls I just alluded to, those edge rushers showed up. The interior defensive line, they showed up. They got involved, they took advantage, and it made a difference. And whenever you can force an ill-advised pass, a lot of times those turn into picks. And listen, the good thing about Kansas City's defense the last 3 years, despite not getting a lot of sacks and takeaways, especially this past season, they haven't allowed teams to light up the scoreboard. They're not surrendering a lot of yards. They're not giving up a lot of points. The Chiefs have been top 10 in total defense and points allowed 3 years in a row. Now it's gradually declining, gradually. Now, I will say this, because I've always said a good offense helps a good defense and vice versa. I think with the Chiefs offense, because remember that Texans game when the Texans could not get a single first down in the third quarter, and I think they had -2 total yards of offense in that quarter. Well, guess what? Kansas City's offense returned the favor because they could not get anything going on their end either. If Kansas City's offense can prevent 3 and outs and finish drives with more scores, that's going to help out the defense so much. Because if your defense is getting all these 3 and outs, but you can't do anything, you're making them come right back out to the field when they just got a quick stop. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of that over these last couple of years. Look, I can excuse 2024, even though it was a Super Bowl appearance and a 15-win season, but boy, the way they won those football games were wildly ugly. Like, you just did your defense no favors keeping yourselves in these close, low-scoring games. I think there were 2 weeks in a row where the Chiefs won by a score of 19-17. Yes, that is correct. That Black Friday game against the Raiders, they won 19-17. And then 9 days later, they beat the Chargers 19-17 to the same exact score. So you'd like to see the Chiefs be able to put up points in the 30s and the 40s. It's been a really long time since the Chiefs last scored in the 40s. I think it was in 2023, week 1 or 3 rather. Yeah, against Chicago. They put up 41 points on the Bears, and that's a much different Bears team than what it is right now. But boy, it's been a long time since you've last put up 40 burgers, 40 plus. That's got to be better. That's absolutely got to be better. Pass protection was better, but the offense was not in sync. Yeah, that I do agree, Colby. And look, how much of that was Matt Nagy and his offensive scheme? And Connor, listen, I know we've gone over this before, and I don't want to beat a dead horse with this. The receivers did not take Connor Embry seriously. They just didn't. And I think that's obvious on the field. In 2023, you had almost the same wide receivers as you did in 2022. The only major difference was Rashee Rice replaced Juju Smith-Schuster in 2023. And then suddenly those receivers that you had from the previous year, they were just dropping passes left and right. It made no sense. Except it kind of did, because you have a different wide receivers coach and a different offensive coordinator. The production at that wide receiver position dropped. I mean, it was just a vertical drop to the bottom. And I don't think it's an accident that the Chiefs were so quick to pick their new offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach, and Eric Bieniemy and Chad O'Shea respectively. There's a reason why they made those moves. All right, before we get out of here, a couple of non-Chiefs news. Sam Darnold, who is now a Super Bowl champion, which is crazy to even say, he thanked a lot of teams that have believed in him. He thanked the Seahawks for believing in him. He also shouted out the Jets for giving him the opportunity. Look, it's never easy to be told no as many times as Sam Darnold has been told no. Even after our 14-win season last year with Minnesota, they said no. And listen, I think everyone understood why. They drafted a quarterback really high on J.J. McCarthy, and I think they wanted to move on with him. So you can't really fault the Vikings for that move. I would have done it if I was in Minnesota as well. Now, that did lead to Minnesota not too long ago. The timing of it was weird. They fired their GM. I don't know how much of that had to do with his decision to go with McCarthy over Darnold. I guess when you look at the optics of it, it kind of does make sense. But that Minnesota team, I mean, they have a lot of talent there. And you got JJ, who's one of the best wide receivers in the league. And they can't take advantage of that. Speaking of the Seahawks, talking about, Sam Darnold, thanking them and all. This is something the Chiefs went through. Now, the Seahawks just lost Clint Kubiak, who's now going to be the head coach of the Raiders. Guess what the Seahawks are doing? They're interviewing offensive coordinator candidates. It's never ideal to interview candidates for your offensive coordinator position in early to mid-February. Never ideal. And that's where the Seahawks find themselves. I think that's why the Chiefs ended up sticking with Nagy and Embry for so long, because they keep playing in the February every year, and by February, all of these college and NFL teams have 99% finalized their coaching staffs. Not that you ever want to go 6-11, especially when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback and Andy Reid's your head coach. But if there was one benefit to it, you got a big early start with your coaching staff. Connor Embry was let go. They were ready to move on from Matt Nagy, whose contract expired with the Chiefs. I mean, they did not waste any time. Eric Bieniemy became available. The Bears lost. Chiefs immediately contacted him, and it didn't take very long for the Chiefs to sign him. I know it was unofficial, but the public report was the Chiefs were going to select Bieniemy as their OC. So let's see what the Seahawks do. Do they hire from within? I think that's the expectation, given how late they are with the process of that. But that is what you go through when you win a Super Bowl and play into February. It is what it is. By the way, I did want to bring this up. So I think you all saw the news with the Atlanta Falcons and what happened with James Pierce. This is obviously rough because Kevin Stefanski just got there and he's already dealing with a player in trouble off the field. So Pierce allegedly rammed his SUV into who did he ram his vehicle into? I mean, he did it several times. It was a WNBA player. It's his ex-girlfriend. That's who it was. I believe it's pronounced Ricky Jackson. I think is how you say your name. Just kept ramming his car into hers. There's a that's what she said joke for you guys there. Then he allegedly was trying to hit a police officer with his vehicle. Oh boy. He had 10.5 sacks, the most for a first-year player since Micah Parsons in 2021. That ain't good. And listen, if video of any of this stuff comes out, good luck. I mean, that might have been your NFL career right there, your rookie season. I just don't understand what happened to the rookie symposium. I mean, I get it. Maybe it wasn't working because players were still acting like knuckleheads off the field. Dude, if I was an NFL player, man, I would absolutely do my best to surround myself with the right people. You cannot afford ever to surround yourself with people who are going to get you into trouble or you're going to have conflict with. Because some of these guys do not know how to handle conflict, obviously. And now you found yourself allegedly trying to run over a police officer? Tim says, longest your team is starting to take shape. Yeah, I know. And unfortunately, listen, we've had that in Kansas City for a long time. I mean, Kansas City has had their fair share of players getting in trouble off the field. And there's one right now kind of in limbo. And again, I want to be very clear. I am an innocent before proven guilty guy. We don't know what happened with Rashee Rice, but boy, from an optics standpoint, it does look bad. And you're hoping that this is all some sort of a misunderstanding or someone lying, which still leads me to my point about Rice and any other player. You got to surround yourself with the right people. Look at Kareem Hunt. He was hanging out with the wrong crowd for quite some time. And ever since he suffered a big consequence for it, missing out on Super Bowls, he hasn't been in trouble since then. I mean, what? He got pulled over for weed. Okay, shouldn't have done it, but not the worst thing in the world. I mean, do it when you're not behind the wheel, at least. Money makes some crazy. I mean, that's my thing, too. Like, if some of these guys get to that point and they don't know how to handle it. I think the most important thing in this situation is don't let people take advantage of your situation. You can be guilty by association, and that can hurt you with your NFL future. When it becomes time to sign a new contract, teams are going to ask you, hey, you got in trouble for this. What was that about? Oh, you were guilty by association? Okay, well, this happened multiple times. Why haven't you cut yourself away from this crowd? That's the thing, man. And to make these terrible decisions, it's going to get in the way of you landing a big contract. Do you know how easy it is to get a big contract in the NFL nowadays? Dak Prescott was at one point the highest paid quarterback. I mean, you just got to have one decent season. Okay, maybe not decent, solid. I'll use that word. You just got to have a top 10 season twice, and you can earn yourself a massive contract. And guess what? You'll be set for life, man. If you're smart with your money, you'll be set for life. But if you're James Pierce Jr., boy, whatever money you made as a rookie might be the only money you'll make in the NFL. If any of these things put him in a position where he's exonerated, guilty, what have you. I mean, you just cannot afford to get in trouble, man. It sucks because teams spend resources trying to get you. They never draft you for you to get in trouble, so you can only have them for 1 year on the team. And that's why you're hoping one of these days Kansas City can have a drama-free offseason. Unfortunately, that offseason is not this offseason because we've already had one dramatic incident. Now, what specifically happened, again, I want to be clear. We don't know, but we got to the point of drama nonetheless with that one. So we'll see. Somebody was asking, should the Chiefs trade back to get more picks? Depends on the offer. And it also depends on who's available. If both Jeremiyah Love and Rueben Bain Jr. are both gone, that would be a big blow because when you have the number 9 pick, you've got to take best player available. But if you got an offer you can't refuse, and those guys are gone, then I suppose that's something to look at. I think the Chiefs are going to stick with it and take best player at that point. I mean, coming off a 6-11 season, you've got to take best player at 9. Maybe the wrong people is a player, and yes, perhaps. But listen, if you can get to the NFL or the NBA, any professional sport, you're smart enough to get to that point. So you're smart enough to use your brain and realize, hey, you gotta be with the right people and make good choices. That I think we can all agree on. Fair point. You know you don't want what's left versus writing with who's in house. Yeah. You have to have a dance partner to trade back. I don't think there will be a lot of that. Redwood Scooter says, it It always depends on what people want. If they see a player is available at number 9 and they really want him and they're finding out somebody else is trying to trade up aggressively to get him, that's always possible. There are always all these smoke screens that come out during the draft, all these phone calls, all these rumors that fly around. Other GMs find out other teams are trying to trade up to get this guy. Those things come up. It's always hard to say, especially when we don't know what's happening within some of those phone conversations when GMs and teams find out things. And like the Chiefs training up to get Mahomes, they did that because they knew somebody else wanted him. So they pulled the trigger faster than somebody else did. I know Sean Payton admitted in expressing serious interest for Mahomes, which, interesting considering that Drew Brees at the time. But, Drew Brees was also on the tail end of his career at that time as well. In Canada, our youth hockey players get the royal treatment and get protected. Bad behavior gets overlooked, ignored, but then when they become adults, teachers, coaches, Hockey Canada execs, etc., can't protect them anymore. Well, there you go. I mean, you got to learn your lesson. And listen, I know a lot of people make the excuse for athletes. Oh, he's young. No, just stop doing that. I hate when people do that. Don't do that. There are a lot of young guys. Listen, I'll give Patrick Mahomes credit. His very first start was that Denver game when, a lot of backups were playing. Denver still had some starters, but it was a preseason game. Then his first 2 games in 2018 as a starter, I mean, he had 10 touchdowns in the first 2 weeks. I mean, it was wild. So he had 3 starts before making his Arrowhead regular season debut. His stature from being a backup to a new starter to a superstar level, dude, it just rose real fast like a rocket ship. And he handled that pretty damn well. And I know people make these comments about Mahomes' family members and the things they do, and I don't want to get into that because that doesn't impact Mahomes directly unless we're proven otherwise. But Mahomes handled that 2018 season way better than a lot of other people would have. And listen, to be clear, there are a lot of young players in the NFL. A majority of them are not getting in trouble. It's the ones who do get in trouble we make excuses for, and we say, oh, they're young. No, come on. You can't be doing that. You just can't. Got to stay out of trouble, especially when you're playing the kids' game and making a bunch of money doing so. All right, that'll do it for this episode of the Chiefs Zone Podcast. I appreciate you all joining me on this one. No Red Friday Q&A live chat since we are kind of in that off-season portion where there isn't a lot of news. But obviously, if anything comes up, we'll be doing a podcast. Otherwise, we'll be continuing our off-season shows Monday and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central Time. So the next time you can expect an episode of the Chiefs Zone Podcast will be Monday, 7 p.m. Central Time. Until then, follow me on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram. I mentioned YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. If you miss any part of this podcast, it'll be archived shortly everywhere I just mentioned on Facebook, YouTube, X, Spotify, Apple. And if you enjoyed this, hey, please give it a like, share it with your friends, let them know about the Chiefs Zone Podcast. There should be an announcement soon on the live podcast. I don't know when exactly, but I'm hoping we can share something very soon with you guys because I know you guys keep asking about it. I've got the poster in my hand right here. I want to turn it around. I can't. I just can't. I can't. But I'm excited to show you guys. I think you'll all be very excited. Some of you guys might not have ever been to this venue or event, and I think you guys will certainly enjoy it if it's going to be your first time. I hope you guys are excited as much as I am. All right, I'm Farzin. We see you again. Thank you all for joining me. I will talk to you all next week. Peace out.